Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to you about something powerful, something life-changing, something that will unlock the next level of your potential. I want to talk about how God is removing what holds you back and planting what makes you grow. For many of you, the season you're in might feel difficult. You might be looking around and wondering why things aren't moving the way you hoped. But let me tell you this. This is not a setback, it's a setup. It's a divine exchange. God is actively at work in your life, and He's making adjustments to ensure you step into a future that's beyond your wildest dreams. In life, we often find ourselves trapped in seasons of struggle and uncertainty, questioning why things don't seem to be moving forward as we hoped. The weight of disappointments, failures, and setbacks may feel unbearable at times. Yet in the midst of this, there's something divine happening. God is orchestrating a divine exchange in your life, taking away what no longer serves you and planting what will help you grow. This exchange is not an accidental process. It's intentional and is designed to shape your life for greatness. God knows what's best for you, even when you don't understand it. We can often focus on what's being removed and feel the sting of loss, but we fail to see the magnificent potential of what is being placed in our hearts and minds in return. The removal isn't a loss. It's the clearing of space for something new to take root. He's removing the old mindset that has kept you bound, the old fears that have hindered your faith, the old habits that have stunted your growth, and the old relationships that have drained your energy. When God removes something from your life, it is not because He's trying to punish you or leave you empty. It is because He is preparing you for what He has promised. Sometimes the removal is painful, and the void it creates can be overwhelming. But what we fail to realize in those moments is that empty spaces are an invitation for something greater to enter. What seems like a loss is actually God's way of clearing the path to the new. He is making room for divine purpose, new opportunities, fresh strength, and powerful breakthroughs that you may have never imagined. The process of pruning, which may seem harsh at times, is God's way of ensuring that you're not limited by your past, nor enslaved by your circumstances. He's shaping you, molding you into the person who can carry the weight of the new blessings He's preparing for you. Without this divine exchange, you would never be able to fully embrace the fullness of what God has in store for you. He's not just removing the dead weight. He's planting new seeds that will bear fruit in your life. But these seeds do not come without their own process of growth. Just as a seed must first break open and go through the dark soil before it can rise up into the light, the seeds that God plants in your life require time, patience, and nurturing. They require you to step out in faith, trusting that what you can't yet see is already at work. The process is not always easy, but it is necessary. It is in the soil of challenge, struggle, and perseverance that your faith is deepened, your character is strengthened, and your destiny is fulfilled. What God is planting in you is not for temporary satisfaction. It's not for momentary pleasure. The things God is planting in your life are eternal. They are designed to grow into something that will bear fruit for generations to come. God is planting seeds of hope, of purpose, of destiny, and of faith that will grow deep roots and bear lasting fruit. He is not just thinking of you for today, but for the future, for your children, for the generations that will follow your example. The divine exchange is not just for your benefit, but for the kingdom of God. It is for a higher purpose, a purpose that goes beyond you and reaches into the world around you. When you allow God to do this work in your life, you must be willing to surrender. You must be willing to trust that His plan is greater than your understanding and that His timing is perfect. It is in your surrender that God is able to plant what will cause you to grow. You cannot control the process, but you can trust the one who is guiding it. Trust that He is removing what has held you back and planting what will propel you forward into a future full of purpose, power, and potential. There comes a point in every believer's life when they face seasons of pruning, where God begins to remove things, people, and even mindsets that seem to be part of the fabric of their existence. We often think of pruning as a painful experience, something we want to avoid, but what we fail to recognize is that pruning is not the end, it is a preparation for something greater. God, in His divine wisdom, knows that in order for you to grow and reach your full potential, there are things that must be cut away. Pruning is a process. It's not an event, but a divine action taken over time. Think about it. A gardener prunes the branches of a tree not because the tree is weak, but because it is strong enough to bear more fruit. The gardener removes what is not producing, what has become unhealthy, and what is draining the life of the tree. This act ensures that the tree can focus its energy on producing the best fruit that will last. Similarly, God prunes your life, not because you're weak, but because He's preparing you for a greater purpose. For many of you, the pruning process is uncomfortable. It feels like God is taking away the very things that have defined you. Your plans, your relationships, your comfort zones. But in reality, these are the things that are hindering your growth, and they cannot go with you to the next level. The reality is that in order to grow into the person God has created you to be, there must be a shedding of the old so that new growth can take place. When God prunes, He doesn't just remove things randomly. Everything He removes has a purpose. He is clearing the path for new opportunities, new perspectives, and new growth. But this growth requires faith. You see, when a branch is pruned, it doesn't immediately look better. In fact, it often looks barren, cut back, and unproductive. But what you don't see in the moment is the internal change that's happening beneath the surface. The pruning process forces the tree to develop stronger roots, deeper roots, that will enable it to withstand the storms and bear greater fruit in the future. It's the same with your life. God is deepening your faith, building your character, and preparing you for the destiny He has promised. You must understand that pruning is an act of love. The gardener does not prune a plant or tree because he dislikes it, but because he understands that for the plant to flourish, it must be cut back. So too, God prunes us because He loves us. He knows what we are capable of, and He wants to ensure that nothing holds us back from fulfilling our purpose. Without pruning, we may grow, but we will grow in the wrong direction. Without pruning, we may bear fruit, but it will not be the kind of fruit that impacts the world in the way God intends. The challenge of pruning is learning to trust in the process. When God removes something from your life, don't resist it, don't fight it. Instead, trust that He is doing something deeper than you can see in the moment. Trust that His hand is working behind the scenes to bring about something far greater than you can imagine. Trust that God, the master gardener, is positioning you for a future where you can not only survive but thrive. And don't be discouraged when the process seems long or the pain seems overwhelming. A tree doesn't grow overnight, and neither do you. Growth takes time, and the pruning process is a necessary part of that time. It's a process that prepares you to bear fruit that will not only last, but will also multiply, affecting others in ways you never thought possible. Remember, God never prunes without a purpose. He never removes anything from your life without replacing it with something better, something that will help you grow, something that will take you higher, and something that will ultimately bring glory to His name. Every time He prunes, He's preparing you for the fullness of your destiny. Trust the process, trust the plan, and know that on the other side of this pruning, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the life you were always meant to live. There is a process in life that many of us fail to recognize, and that is the unseen process. It's the work that happens beneath the surface, in places that no one else can see, but it is often the most important work being done in your life. While the world may focus on what's visible, the success, the accomplishments, the promotions, and the accolades, God is far more concerned with what is taking place in the hidden places. It is in those hidden, unseen moments that the true transformation begins. The unseen process is not always glamorous. It is not the shiny exterior that people admire. It is the internal work, the preparation, and the development that shape you into who you are meant to become. Think about the process of a seed. You plant it in the soil, and for a long time you see nothing. You might wonder if it's growing at all because there are no signs of life. But beneath the surface, the seed is breaking open. Its roots are reaching deep into the soil, and it is being nourished by forces you cannot see. Without this unseen work, there can be no growth above the surface. The unseen process is the foundation for everything that is to come. Many people give up too soon because they don't see immediate results. They become discouraged because the changes they are making aren't visible to the naked eye. But the reality is there is so much happening beneath the surface that is essential for your future success. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. It's in these unseen moments that God is strengthening your character, developing your faith, and preparing you for the bigger things that are to come. There are times in life when God's work in us is invisible to others, and sometimes even invisible to ourselves. We go through seasons where we don't feel like we're making progress. We struggle, we face challenges, and we wonder if anything is changing. But let me remind you of something important. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. And much of it happens in the unseen places. And you may not see it now, but God is at work in you. And He is preparing you for something far greater than you can comprehend. The unseen process is also where God develops patience in us. When you plant a seed, it doesn't sprout the next day. It takes time, and the seed must be patient while it is being nurtured and developed. Similarly, God uses the unseen process to teach you patience. He teaches you to trust in His timing, to trust that He is working even when you can't see it. There are no shortcuts to growth. There is no quick fix. The unseen process requires that you remain faithful, stay the course, and continue to trust that God is doing something even when it's not immediately apparent. Another aspect of the unseen process is that it prepares you for what is coming. You may not be able to see it now, but God is laying the groundwork for something powerful. It is in the unseen process that your character is built. Your foundation is strengthened and your roots are established. You are being prepared for what you cannot yet see. Without this preparation, you would not be able to sustain the success and the blessings that God has in store for you. If you jump ahead without going through the unseen process, you risk falling when the storms come because you have not been rooted in the deep work that God is doing in you. We live in a world that prizes instant gratification. We want things fast, we want success now, and we want results immediately. But the unseen process teaches us something different. It teaches us that the best things take time. It teaches us that lasting success is built on a foundation of steady, consistent growth in the unseen. It's in these moments that God is refining us, sharpening us, and positioning us for the future He has already planned for us. Don't be discouraged by what you can't see. Don't be discouraged by the times when it feels like nothing is happening. The unseen process is a vital part of your journey. It is where the real transformation occurs. And it is where your faith and patience are tested and strengthened. Trust the process, because the best is yet to come. And God is at work in the unseen places, preparing you for a future that is far greater than you can imagine. There comes a time in every person's life when fear tries to take hold, when the unknown looms large, and when uncertainty whispers in your ear that you are not enough or that your dreams are too big. Fear has a way of making us feel small, inadequate, and incapable of stepping into the fullness of what we were created for. But in the face of fear, there is a force greater than anything that can stand in your way. And that force is faith. Faith is not simply the absence of fear, but the power to move forward despite it. It is the key that unlocks the door to your destiny and to the life you were always meant to live. Faith is not a passive belief. It's not about simply hoping for things to work out. It's about taking action based on the belief that God's promises are greater than the limitations you see in front of you. Faith is the conviction that the one who created you is more than able to fulfill what he has spoken over your life. When fear tries to paralyze you, faith empowers you to move forward, even when you can't see the way ahead. It's the confidence that God has already gone before you and made a way, even when your circumstances seem to say otherwise. The truth is, fear will always be present in some form. It will show up when you step out of your comfort zone, when you take risks, when you pursue your dreams. Fear will tell you that you're not qualified, that you don't have enough, or that it's too late. But faith says something entirely different. Faith says, I am capable, I am enough, and I was created for this moment. Faith doesn't ask for the conditions to be perfect before it moves. Faith steps out knowing that the one who called you is faithful to provide what you need along the way. When you trust in God's ability, you no longer have to be consumed by fear. You know that He is with you every step of the way. Faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's a decision to trust God in the face of the unknown. It's a decision to believe that His word is true no matter what your circumstances look like. When fear rises up, faith doesn't pretend the fear isn't there, but faith chooses to stand firm in the belief that God is bigger than the fear. The fear may be loud, but faith speaks with a voice that drowns it out. Faith says, I will not be moved. I will not be shaken. I will move forward because God is with me. Too often we allow fear to dictate our actions. Fear keeps us stuck in places we were never meant to stay, afraid to take the next step because of the what ifs. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not good enough? These are the questions fear loves to ask. But faith asks a different question. Faith asks, what if God is calling me to something greater? What if this is the moment I step into my purpose? What if this is the moment I step into my purpose? Faith changes the narrative. It shifts the focus from the problem to the solution. It reminds you that with God, all things are possible. In every situation, we must make the choice between faith and fear. Fear will keep you in the familiar, but faith will push you into the unfamiliar. Fear will tell you that your dreams are impossible, but faith will tell you that nothing is impossible for God. Fear will tell you to shrink back, but faith will call you to rise up. It will challenge you to believe in God's promises more than in the doubts that surround you. The choice is always yours. Will you let fear hold you back, or will you allow faith to move you forward? When you operate in faith, fear loses its power. Fear can only control you if you allow it to. But when you stand firm in your faith, when you choose to trust God despite the fear, you are no longer subject to the limitations that fear tries to impose. Faith releases the full power of God in your life, and when that power is at work, there is nothing that can stand in your way. The world may try to convince you that fear is rational, that it's wise to be afraid of the unknown. But faith tells you that your God is bigger than any fear, any obstacle, or any challenge. Faith gives you the strength to step out, the courage to move forward, and the confidence to trust that God will fulfill His promises. Fear will always try to knock at your door, but you have the power to choose whether or not you let it in. And when you choose faith over fear, you will find that the life God has called you to is far greater than anything you ever imagined. Change is one of the most powerful forces in life. It's inevitable, it's unrelenting, and it's a force that God uses to move us forward. But often change is uncomfortable. It challenges the familiar, disrupts our routines, and forces us to leave behind the old to embrace the new. We don't always welcome it, and we certainly don't always understand it. However, if you want to grow, if you want to live the life you were destined for, You must embrace the seasons of change that God allows in your life. Every season serves a purpose. Just as the earth goes through seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, so do we in our lives. Each season brings with it a new opportunity for growth, a new level of development, and a new dimension of purpose. The seasons of change are not random. They are ordained by God to bring about something greater in you. The challenge, however, is learning to recognize that the season you are in, understanding the work God is doing, and responding with faith, patience. In the spring, new things are birthed. The soil is tilled and seeds are planted. It's a season of hope, renewal, and growth. This is the season when God begins to stir up new ideas, dreams, and aspirations in your heart. It's a season when you feel a surge of energy, excitement, and possibility. But it's also a season of vulnerability. The new things that are planted in your life need to be nurtured, protected, and given time to grow. It's a season where you can easily be distracted by the excitement of new beginnings. But you must remember that growth takes time. And the seeds you plant now will require your attention and care to flourish. As we move into the summer season, there is a time of harvest. This is the season when your efforts begin to pay off. When the work you've done in the spring begins to bear fruit. It's a season of abundance, of productivity, and of visible results. This is when you see the evidence of God's faithfulness in your life. However, just as the summer brings a bountiful harvest, it can also bring the heat. The intense sun can burn, the pressure can mount, and the demands on you can increase. Yet, in the midst of the heat, God is refining you. He's strengthening you, teaching you how to endure and how to trust Him even when things seem difficult. The summer season may bring the fullness of your harvest, but it also prepares you for the challenges that come with the success. Autumn follows, and this is often the most difficult season for many people. Autumn is a season of letting go. The leaves fall, the fruits are harvested, and the ground is prepared for the coming winter. This is a time of transition, a time when God begins to prune what is no longer necessary, what is no longer fruitful, and what is no longer aligned with your purpose. It's a painful season. You might lose relationships, jobs, dreams, or opportunities that you thought were a part of your future. But the loss is not a defeat. It is a divine pruning. God is removing what would hinder your growth in the next season. The pruning process is not about destruction. It is about preparation. God is clearing the way for the new things He wants to do in your life. In autumn, God asks you to trust Him even when you don't understand why things are being removed. It's in this season that you learn to release what is no longer serving you, to let go of the old and make space for the new. Finally, winter comes. Winter is a season of rest, reflection, and renewal. It's a time when everything seems still, when the external world seems barren and cold. But just because you can't see growth doesn't mean that growth isn't happening. Winter is a time of preparation for the new life that will emerge in the spring. This is a season where God does His deepest work in you. It's in the quiet stillness of winter that God's refining work takes place. He strengthens your foundation, builds your character, and prepares you for the challenges of the next season. It may seem like nothing is happening on the surface, but underneath, God is doing the most important work in you. Winter may feel long, but it is never wasted. It is a time of deepening, of becoming stronger, and of becoming more aligned with God's purpose for your life. Seasons of change are inevitable. And while they may be uncomfortable at times, they are necessary for your growth and development. The key is to embrace each season as it comes. Don't resist the changes that God is orchestrating in your life. Whether it's the excitement of new beginnings, the pressure of success, the pain of loss, or the stillness of rest, Trust that God is using every season to shape you into the person you were meant to become. You are being prepared for something greater. And each season of change is an opportunity for you to move closer to the fullness of your destiny. When you look at your life and everything seems to be falling apart, when challenges appear overwhelming and the obstacles in your path seem insurmountable, it's easy to believe that breakthrough is a distant dream, something that belongs to others but not to you. But I am here to tell you that your breakthrough is near, closer than you think. There is power in the moments when everything seems the darkest, because in those moments, God is setting the stage for a move that will change everything. Breakthroughs are not always instant, and they don't always come when we expect them, but they are always preceded by a period of preparation, a season of testing, a time when you have to press through and hold on to the promise that God has given you. You see, the breakthrough is not just about what you're about to receive, but also about who you are becoming in the process. It's in those difficult times when you are stretched beyond your limits, when you feel like giving up, that you are being refined, shaped, and prepared for the glory that is coming. There is a principle at work in every breakthrough. Before something new is birthed, there is always a moment of great pressure. Think about the process of a diamond being formed. A diamond starts as carbon, an ordinary material, but in the depths of the earth, under intense pressure and heat, that carbon is transformed into one of the most precious and beautiful substances known to man. In the same way, you are being refined in the furnace of adversity, and it is that pressure that is making you stronger, preparing you for the breakthrough that is coming. The Bible tells us that there is a time for everything, and in every season there is a purpose. You may not understand the purpose behind your struggles right now, but trust that God is at work. Your breakthrough is not an accident. It is a part of His divine plan for your life. The key is to never give up, to keep pressing forward even when the road seems long and the journey uncertain. In the face of challenges, the temptation is to focus on what is going wrong, but I encourage you today to shift your focus, to begin to see the bigger picture. You are closer than you think to your breakthrough. Sometimes the breakthrough comes when we stop trying to figure everything out. When we release our grip on the outcome and surrender to God's perfect timing, that is when the miraculous begins to happen. The moment you let go of the fear and the doubt, the moment you trust that God has a purpose in everything, that is when the doors begin to open. God works in ways that we cannot always understand, but He is always faithful. If He has promised you something, He will bring it to pass, but it may not come in the way you expect. The breakthrough may come through unexpected people, in unexpected ways, or at unexpected times, but it will come. You may be feeling like you are in a season of delay, but let me remind you today that delay is not denial. Just because you haven't seen the answer yet doesn't mean that God hasn't already set things in motion. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything according to His will. Even when you can't see it, trust that God is making a way. And while you wait for the breakthrough, don't waste the waiting time. Use it to grow, to develop your faith, and to prepare your heart for what's ahead. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's a season of preparation. A season where God is building in you the strength, the resilience, and the character needed to handle the blessings that are on their way. The breakthrough is coming, and when it comes, it will be greater than you ever imagined. It will be beyond your expectations, beyond your limitations, beyond your wildest dreams. But you must continue to stand firm, to hold on to the promise, to trust that God is faithful. It may take longer than you expect, but I assure you that it is coming. And when it does, you will look back and realize that the pain, the struggles, and the waiting were all part of God's perfect plan to bring you into the fullness of your destiny. Remember this, The breakthrough is not just about what you receive, but about who you become in the process. Trust God, stay faithful, and know that He is always working for your good. Your breakthrough is nearer than you think, and it is going to be worth every moment of the wait. Keep pushing forward. Your breakthrough is on the way. Keep your faith strong and your focus on the promise. Even in the darkest times, remember that breakthrough is near, and it is being prepared for you in ways you cannot yet see. Stay the course, for God's timing is perfect, and your breakthrough is coming at just the right moment.